Hello. So it's just snowing and I'm walking by the highway, so it might be kind of loud. But I have a testimony to share, and it literally just happened, and so I want to share it because, I remember when there's like my spirituality and like the phases that I'm in are often reflected in my YouTube feed, and not even really by my own doing, but usually by spirit's prompting. Like, I'll just start to get random new videos that I wasn't showing any interest in, and then it will kind of be foreshadowing the next phase that I'm going through. And ultimately, it's always to help balance me out in terms of making sure I'm not going into extreme of a direction. So, for example, like, my spirituality started with the introduction of tarot readings. At least on YouTube, like, tarot readers were the first way I got connected to that community. Or I guess maybe meditations were. But I didn't dive as deep as they did into tarot. And then a little while later, I started getting a lot of like anti-tarot videos from like saved again or born again, Christians and things like that. And I'm not a born again Christian, and I'm not anti-tarot. I love tarot. But I needed to watch those videos in order to not go too extreme into tarot and use it as my only source of connection to spirit. So it was important that I saw those videos because it grounded me, and a lot of the experiences that those people spoke about who left the tarot community completely, were experiences I had had. So I think spirit was just like, balance it out. Nothing is all good or all bad when it comes to things like that. There's obviously things that are just bad or just good. But just balance your perspective out. So the same came when I started getting a wave of like a lot of heavily Christian content. And it was like a lot of people who would do like short little videos on like words that they've gotten from God and Bible scriptures and things like that. And then I started getting a wave of like testimony videos of people who had, they had gotten a new apartment and moved to a different state with no money, or, gotten all their bills paid with no money and no money beforehand, and suddenly something miraculous would happen and all of that. And so I went through waves of that. And then my feed is really balanced out recently. It's kind of a good mix of some spirituality stuff and then just stuff I like to watch in general, like vlogs, cooking food, things like that. So it's more in balance now. But so when I was seeing those testimony stories, they were always very big, big gifts that came through, big miracles that came through. But for me, this experience that I've just had literally just now I would consider it a big gift, a big miracle, because I didn't have what I needed to have in order to make something happen. And now it was a miracle. And I actually had a dream that basically told me this was going to happen, but I wasn't able to put it together until now, after this moment's been completed and I got what I needed. So I want to tell you. So I'm in the middle of my spiritual journey. It really kicked up steam. I've always been a spiritual person, but this whole experience started maybe 2 years ago. So I'm now in the middle of it. I quit my job, in the latest job that I've had, at the end of August. So I've been living off of what I had saved and then my credit cards. I haven't spent a crazy amount because I went to an ashram, so I was there for free for 2 months, and I live at home, and I'm very, practical with my money because I understand that I don't have a whole bunch of it, and I'm not living that much on the edge. But I have had to make a few big purchases because I want to go to Tulum and be there with my mom and help her and have a new experience and change of setting. And it's funny because I was talking about in another video that the way my life looks physically right now is eerily similar to the way it looked last year. And the financial relationship and strain that I have is very similar too. But I'm so much more calm this year because I've worked through a lot of traumas that I'm able to handle the stress a lot better than I was able to last year. And that was shown to me because yesterday I rediscovered a video I had filmed but never posted, probably because I was embarrassed of it. And I was crying about the fact that I wasn't going to be able to go to Tulum because all these blocks were coming in and it felt like a sign from the universe that this just wasn't meant to be, blah, blah, blah. And I did end up going literally a few days later. So watching that video was funny because it was like, I was so emotional, but I had no idea that things were going to work out. And it was kind of showing me exactly what I was experiencing in that moment because I was watching that video as I was trying to just, calm myself and soothe my way through a situation where I really had no idea how things were going to work out. And I was very stressed about it and nervous, and just kind of on edge. And so anyways, so what happened is I went to a birthday party for my friend. I haven't been going out very often because, like I said, I've had to be very practical with money, because I'm living really off of my credit cards right now and then the few money I have in my debit. But I've had to be very, very practical and very, very careful. But this is my friend and it was her birthday, and it's important to me that I nourish the relationships I do have in my life, because at the beginning of the spiritual journey, I left a huge amount of friendships. So my life drastically changed, and I really, my social circle got really small. And so the people that are in my life I care about and I want to honor. So I went to her birthday, and it was an expensive birthday. But that night, luckily, people paid for the bills in whole, and then we were going to e-transfer everybody. So I only ended up having to pay a bill of $18 plus a tip. And so this is the first hint, because I had a dream a few nights before this party, and it was all about money. And in the dream, I was at a grocery store, and the credit card machine wasn't working for the longest time, or the debit machine, and I kept trying to use my card, and it wasn't working, it wasn't letting me pay, but I knew I had the money, so I was like, let me pay. And so finally I was able to pay, and things worked out, but I was embarrassed and scared and nervous, but things worked out. And then so that night, I paid $18 in total. Somebody else paid for the karaoke. Somebody else paid for our big dinner meal. The $18 meal was like the after party meal. So I ended up, I got home and people started sending the e-transfer. I had to pay $11 for the karaoke. I was like, okay, that's okay. I sent that. I was like, okay, cool. Then I ended up babysitting my nephew the next day, and my sister paid me $50 for that. So I got $50, which is nice because I didn't have that. And then I was wondering if I was going to end up getting the receipt for the other charge. I knew it would be expensive. I wasn't sure how much. Today I got it, and it was $65. And I went to my bank account and looked, and I had $60. So I was like, okay, how am I going to make this work? And I feel kind of embarrassed describing how stressed I was because, but I don't know. Has anyone ever been literally on zero in their bank account? Because that's where I'm at, and that's where this whole journey has gotten me. And every single step of the way, it's been faith that has managed to carry me through and somehow get more money into my account. When I'm not working a job, things will just pop up, or I'll get little government check things, or, my sister asked me to babysit and she'll be able to pay me this time. Like, just things work out. But yeah, so before that $50, I had $10. Now I had $60 in my bank account, but I literally don't have the $5. And so I'm stressed because I'm like, I want to pay the full amount. I don't want to scrimp out and just send them $60. And I don't want to ask my family because everybody's got money for things, And I know it's only $5, but for me, it was the principle of the thing and maybe just a bit of embarrassment. And I didn't want to have to do that. I didn't want to have to do that. So I was meditating on it. I tried to find a reading. There's no reading on it. I tried to meditate on it, and I got these sensations in both of my legs to go outside. So I got ready, went for a walk, and now here I am. And I was walking, just thinking and listening to my meditation music and trying to soothe myself and be calm. And I get a notification on my phone from my friend, and she was like, hey, sorry, I had already sent a message to the group chat on Instagram, but I realized you're not really on there. I paid for the bill for you and the other friend that came, my other friend, as like a birthday treat. And I was just shocked because I didn't imagine that would have been the case at all. And it was a huge relief. And then there was a wave of like, no, you can't let her do that, blah, 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 blah. But then I was like, okay, take the gifts that the universe sends you. You will obviously pay her back in another way. You'll treat her. It'll be a balanced situation, but take the gifts that the universe sends you. So I accepted and told her the next time we met up, it was on me. And that was just a real relief. And then I had a dream. In that same dream where I was able to pay for the $18, which ended up being the $18 that I did pay that night, I had a bill of $70 that I had spent on a bunch of clothes that I really wanted, but I ultimately knew I didn't need. But I really did want them. And it was kind of like that night, like, do I need to go out this night? No, but I want to. I want to support my friend. I want to have fun. I want to treat myself to a nice time and be there for her. And so it was kind of a mirrored situation. And in that dream, the entire bill ended up getting covered for me because the machine broke down or something like that. And so the guy was like, oh, it's fine. You don't have to pay. Just tell us how great it is to work here. And I was like, wow, okay. And so in the dream, I let that happen. And I was really grateful. And and then in real life, it was kind of like the same thing. Accept the gift, be grateful, and give thanks to your friend. And, continue to cherish these things, and then also thank the universe and recognize when you've been heard, when you've been listened to, and when you're being supported. And I'm sure I would have had many other testimonies, but maybe this is the first time that I'm really able to acknowledge that this is a moment, because I've healed quite a bit. So I can see the light, But this just felt like a bit of a magical moment, and I'm very grateful. It's a huge relief because, I literally don't have to pay for anything now. I can keep that $60 that I had and not have to ask anyone for help. And that's my kind of testimony, It's not $1,000, but it's what I needed. And it was same day, in that very moment. And had I not given myself the time to work through it and not stress and just send $60 and not think about it and hope that he's okay with that, or, ask other people for money and, start doing all of these plans without just kind of trusting that somehow the universe would see I needed help, because I asked for help. I literally asked, and come through, then who knows if this would have been different. And it's interesting because I had found that video where I was crying about all of these blocks coming up and feeling kind of abandoned. I'd found that video while trying to gather a bunch of my videos that had this palindrome energy, which is like a number energy where it's 737 or 656 or 434, one number, different number, same number as the first number. I was trying to find videos like that because the palindrome energy is something I'm exploring when it comes to being able to shift timelines, or not even timelines, but kind of, like just shifting energy in general.
And I had seen the palindrome sequence twice when I was going through this moment. It was all kind of within the span of an hour, actually. Because it was like within the span of an hour and 6 minutes, because I ended up seeing the message at 2:06. But yeah, so, and that video had palindrome energy. It was a palindrome number. That's why I chose to watch it, and it was private. I never posted it, probably because I was embarrassed of it. And when I did the full numerology for the video, the number is 333. Community coming through, and community, this is what happens. And sometimes I was thinking about, for me, with spirit, with my ancestors, with my spirituality, the way I see it play out, the way it comes into the physical is through people or through things or through things that are very grounded on this earth, I don't hear voices in my head, and I don't, see spirits. I can kind of see faces in the trees and things like that, and sometimes I see flashes of light. Sometimes I see colors. Sometimes, very much so, sometimes I see visions, and I can see shadows and things like that, strips of light and things like that. But mostly my experience is very much so grounded on earth. And so I was thinking about the ways that spirit would come through for me. And maybe it's not going to be, a magical $100 bill showing up on the ground. It's going to be through the people in my life, or through my YouTube feed, something a little more practical, honestly. But it's kind of to show the way that magic exists so readily and so openly just in your life. It doesn't need to be some, miracle that seems unfathomable. Magic is realistic. Magic is tangible. Magic is right here waiting for you. And, my testimony is also a testimony of friendship, of not even having to ask, of gifts just being given when you're able to cultivate and nurture a relationship and care for it. And it's also a sign to continue to cherish friendship, because that's not just spirit coming through. That was Natalie's spirit coming through. Having people in your life who take care of you and honor you without them even knowing that that's something that you needed in that moment, So this was just a nice moment for me. And it's interesting. Both times I've gone on these long walks prompted by spirit, it's been raining or snowing. But something is always happening with the weather. And I can imagine that that's not inconsequential. So I'm going back home now because I'm cold and I want to go eat some food. But I'm very happy, and I wanted to share my little testimony, Ask spirit for help, give it some time, and it'll come through. And nothing is a burden. The ways that you need help are not a burden to other people. So even if it comes through somebody else offering you to help, take it and recognize that you'll be able to help that person back when they need it. So, yeah. Bye.